This is the Phoenix mind, where the fire refines, break the chains and rise to shine. Rise on the lead with heart, every end a brand new start. With Lisa Manzo we transform, we ignite. This is the Phoenix mind.
Hi, welcome to the Phoenix Mind Podcast. I'm your host, Lisa Manzo, and today my special guest is Rya Hazelwood, and I'm going to tell you all about Rya while I read you her bio. Rya is a speaker, author, and mindset strategist who believes that even the hardest chapters can become springboards to something extraordinary in life and in leadership. A survivor of two painful marriages, one with an alcoholic and the other one with a one with the man with narcissistic tendencies, and a secret fiance, and that she found through what she calls relentless optimism. Her book, Relentless Optimism and Other Life Goals, blends raw storytelling and practical tools for healing, growth, and creating the life you've always dreamed of. Today, Rya helps women and leaders harness optimism as a superpower, not blind positivity, but a bold, strategic decision to live and lead from possibility. Welcome, Rya. Thank you so much for being my guest today.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm really excited and honored to join you.
So just take 2 to 3 minutes and tell the audience who you are and why you do what you do, and then I'll ask you questions.
Okay. Well, as you mentioned, my name is Rya Hazelwood, and I am a mother. I'm a former marketing executive. I'm an author. I'm a speaker, and above all, as you mentioned, I'm a relentless optimism. I'm a relentless optimist. I believe that mindset is our most powerful tool, and I also believe that optimism is a skill we can build and a skill we should lean into.
Wow, that's awesome. And I've had some not so great relationships in my time, and so you went from an alcoholic to a narcissist.
Yeah,
That's interesting.
not on purpose. That wasn't really like my life plan. I didn't set out to say, hey, you know what would be great? But I did. I had a first marriage that was challenging. My first husband was fell down that slippery slope of alcoholism after we had our first child, and that was a whole ordeal. And we can go into that if you want. After that marriage ended, after I was divorced, I got back on the dating apps, and I had been outside of the dating world for quite a while. I was woefully naive, or maybe blissfully naive, to what narcissism was, though I did end up getting a full master class. Front row seat to love bombing, which turned into a trauma bond, which turned into gaslighting, manipulation, and just like a fog of an existence for a couple of years there. And as you mentioned, I did discover he had a whole secret life, which at the time felt devastating, but I look back and I'm so grateful for it because it really helped me break out of that situation and realize the truth of what I was living and helped me springboard from that from what felt like an incredible setback, helped me springboard into living a life that I always dreamed of.
Oh, I totally understand you because I have my own story of dating a narcissist, and in in reading your story, I look back and I did a little self-reflection, and I found it very interesting because I never understood. There were times I get the most elaborate gifts, right? And then there were times he wouldn't even acknowledge it was my birthday. It was really weird. It was really bizarre, right?
Yeah.
And just today, mind you, this relationship I was in my 20s, I'm in my 60s. Today I had the aha moment is I only got a big gift if somebody was going to be around.
Mm, yeah.
I only got a big gift if somebody was going to be around. And I got to tell you, it would be Christmas and my birthday, and it was so painful. And I would think to
Mhm.
myself, why does he treat me like this? Why does he
Yeah.
think I deserve to be treated this way? And
Mhm.
then on some level, I guess unconsciously, I just kept letting myself because I didn't deserve better. And grateful
Mhm.
to have walked away and
Yes.
grateful to have gotten even at the same time unintentionally.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Let's say more.
so I'll tell you.
Okay.
So on his 30th birthday, we were near the end. I mean, we were his birthday was in the summer, and we were a couple of months away from it being completely over. and his birthday came, and it was the 30th birthday, so that was a big one.
Yeah.
I didn't call him. I didn't wish him a happy birthday. I pretended like it was just another day, and he flipped out. And I was like, "Oh, well, now you know how it feels. You're
Good for
welcome.
you.
You're
Good
welcome."
for you.
And,
Mhm.
you know, I didn't do it with the intention of getting revenge. I did it with because I didn't have anything left for him.
Yeah.
Did you find that you just have nothing left for them and you got to walk away?
I did find that in my first marriage
Okay.
because that was a situation where it was over for years before it was finally legally over. And a big part of that was after I came to the realization that he was an alcoholic, because there was a lot of denial on my part at first too. It's easy to excuse behaviors and, oh well, he's just stressed out. Oh, the life has changed so much, and it's hard to come to terms and come to grips with the fact that this is your real life, right? There's a lot of magical thinking. There's a lot of magical thinking for me in that situation that I had to really recover from. And there was a big, while it was, step by step by step, and line in the sand and line in the sand and line in the sand, there was a big critical moment that made me go, oh, there is no fairy godmother that's going to come rescue me. There is no, in 5 years things will magically be better. I have to make the decision to believe that I can create something better, even though I was really scared. And even though I didn't know what that would look like yet, I had to make the choice. And that really for me is the foundation of relentless optimism, is being intentional in that belief. I know I've wound around and I haven't answered your question yet, but over the course of those several years, let me back up. When my now 16-year-old son was 2, I did see a divorce attorney. We had tried counseling. And the divorce attorney told me what every divorce attorney probably says, which is you can absolutely file for a divorce, but you'll have joint custody, and your someday ex-husband will have your child every other weekend, 2 weeks in the summer, a week over the holidays. And in a healthy relationship, even if it's an unhappy marriage where both parents are capable and healthy, then I think that's probably a wonderful situation. And I know a lot of people living in that with very good results. But for me, that felt incredibly dangerous for my then toddler. And so I came to the conclusion that, right or wrong, and we can only do the best that we can do with the knowledge we have at the time. I came to the decision in that moment that we were going to live under the same roof, and I was going to insulate my child, and I was going to protect him and make sure that everything was fine. And over the course of those years, everything's not always bad. It's not even like usually bad. It's just when it's bad. And so you have these moments and these blips of like, oh, maybe it's gonna be better. Like you would get sober for a few weeks or sober for a few days, and you would see these glimmers of that life you always wanted. And it doesn't end up being long lasting. So over the course of those years, yes, it was a slow breakdown of marriage to unhappy marriage to basically roommates to basically me just taking care of an extra adult. And for me, that came to a head when my second son was born, and my then husband was supposed to pick us up from the hospital on the day we were getting discharged, and instead he got drunk.
Oh,
And
that's
so,
awful.
yeah. So my mom, thank goodness, came and really stepped up in that situation. But in that hospital room, holding my newborn, filling out his birth certificate, choosing his name on my own, was really a moment of epiphany where I said, this is reality right now. There is no magical solution. And if I want my life to be different and I want the life of my children to be different, I have to make it so, and I have to believe that I can. And I did.
That's awesome. So explain to the audience what magical thinking is, because
Oh,
I've heard the term over the years. I actually know what
yeah.
it is. And I know it's not a term that I've heard often. So explain what magical thinking is.
Okay, to me, magical thinking is, and please jump in if you have a different definition, right? But like to me, magical thinking is the idea that your situation will change without you actually having to take any action to change it. As if you're sitting in the garden with a ruined dress and a fairy godmother's going to come down from the sky and wave her wand and turn some mice into some horses and give you the most beautiful ball gown ever and take you off into the sunset, right? And it's beautiful. And let me tell you, in my hardest days, magical thinking that, oh, today is really hard, but someday it'll be better, got me through some really hard days. But what it also did is it kept me stuck for a lot longer than I should have been, because it kept me thinking someday everything would magically be better without acknowledging the fact that if I wanted things to be better, I had to make it so.
Yes, you have to take charge of your own life. Yay, that's
Right.
exactly right. If you
Yes.
want things to change, you have to be the catalyst for the change. Yes, completely agree. And that I agree with your definition of magical thinking. And the first time I had heard that was I was in therapy with my husband. We were going to marriage counseling at the time. And I mean, I actually was working. We were actually working on it. And then I don't know what happened. He spoke to somebody one day, and it was like we didn't go back to the starting line. We went back 50 feet from the starting line.
Oh,
And
no.
and and I was like, in that moment, I was done. I was like, I'm not doing this. We're either going
Mhm.
forward, I'm not going backwards. And knowing what I know now, now I might look at it differently because I know that sometimes we take two steps backwards, a step backwards before we can take two steps forward. And maybe that was his fear kicking in. I don't know. And I can't ask him. I can't ask him because he's not here anymore. And but I think now if I had to do it over again because it was working, I would have had that conversation with the therapist. Okay, he took a step backwards. How do we get him back to where we were? And I didn't
Yeah.
have that conversation because I was
Yeah.
just over it at that point.
Yeah. Well, and it's so hard. You don't know what you don't know. And when you're in such an emotionally, I don't want to put words in your mouth, and I think fragile is the wrong word, but in such a state where there's so much emotion going on, and it is exhausting. It is so exhausting to be in there that you can only do the best with the information that you have at the time.
Right.
Um, you
Well,
know.
that's why we're talking about it is because knowing what I know now, yes,
Mhm.
I would have did something different. Am I upset
Yeah.
with myself that I didn't know because I did the best with the tools I had at the time, which is
Yeah.
totally okay.
Hmm. Yeah. My first husband's no longer with us either, so I
Oh,
understand that
his
profoundly.
alcoholism get him?
It was ruled accidental, but yes, there was alcohol involved, certainly.
Yeah, that's so
Yeah,
sad.
it
So
was. It
sad for
was.
him that he's not here for his children and
I
sad for
agree.
them.
My biggest wish was that he would get healthy, get happy, and I believe that had he chosen to do that, he was a good man and he would have been a good father. Um, but he just that wasn't able to overcome that disease.
Yeah, some people can and some people can't. It's everyone has their own journey. I'm personally sober for 7 years.
Congratulations.
Yeah,
Amazing.
and I was one of those that only drank at the end of the day. Like I go to
Mhm.
work and I wouldn't touch alcohol until I got home at night. It's like because I had to keep my job.
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
Anyway, let's move on. So you said you in your thing you talked about with your second husband, you had a business and you had to let that go. That must have been really hard. How did emotional intelligence and becoming aware of your emotions help you walk through that?
That's a great question. Yes. So, as you mentioned at the end of the second marriage, and I would just like to go on record to say that I contend it should have been annulled because the person I married never existed, never actually existed. But yeah, we owned a business together. And so, for anybody going through the end of a relationship, whether it's romantic, personal, platonic, doesn't matter, with a narcissist where you are ending it, I would highly recommend going no contact. For me, that was not an option because, as you mentioned, we owned a business together. And so, I had to overcome the end of that relationship, overcome the betrayal of learning about his secret fiancée halfway around the world, um, and try and heal while also remaining in contact in a professional sense. For me, I tried to keep it very professional. He, of course, would not do that because people with narcissistic tendencies, and I am advised that I am not qualified to diagnose anybody. So people with narcissistic tendencies definitely are just, at least in this situation, are just going for the next hit of attention, the next hit of getting a rise out of you. And that was a goal, right? Or it felt like a goal of his. And so it was hard at first. I was triggered a lot. I would see an email come in or a text come in, and my fight or flight response would pick up. My heart would start pounding, and I would get a lot of stress and anxiety over it. But the amazing thing about having to go through that situation is it really forced me to examine those responses and examine the fact of and live the fact that I couldn't control what he was going to do, but I could control how I was choosing to react to it. And I could control what I was going to do in the face of those circumstances. So I learned quickly how to set some boundaries, and I learned quickly the power in holding boundaries. And for me, that meant severing forms of communication. I wouldn't accept phone calls. I wouldn't communicate through text message. I would communicate through email or Slack only. It also turned into the types of things I would respond to. He could attack me personally, ask questions personally, rant on and on about my children, but I wouldn't respond to anything outside of business specific topics. And slowly over the course of a few months, with really setting and holding those boundaries and staying true to that intention, the fight or flight response dissipated. My own sense of control and empowerment grew. And I was able to really see the situation for what it was. He was a bully, but he didn't have any real power over me. The only power that he had over me was what I was allowing. But eventually I got to that space, and I'll tell you, Lisa, there is very little more empowering than receiving a 5 paragraph rage-filled email that like the person on the other side is just seething as they're typing, and kind of seeing it for what it is and just replying, disagree. And it's it was great. I mean, that moment when I hit send on disagree, I was so proud of myself. And I was like, here I am. This is how far I've come. And it felt so good. And I think about that often. But I did decide, even after that point, to sell the business because our values didn't align, our business tactics didn't align. And despite the fact that I had come to a place where I could manage the interactions and manage my own responses to them, my peace was worth more than that paycheck. And I chose my peace.
Oh, absolutely. It's always so totally worth your piece is priceless. Your piece
Yeah.
is priceless. That that's so interesting when you said he wrote you this 5 paragraph email and then you just type disagree
Hmm.
because you didn't fuel him at all.
Mm-mm.
Because good attention or bad attention fuels them. It doesn't matter what it is.
Right.
And there's so many videos you can watch on YouTube about this because I'm not an expert. And it's so cool to, and then you just said disagree and you sent it. And was there any kind of response to that?
I don't remember there being a specific response to it, but I'm sure on the other side of the screen there was some aghast and appall. Like, because you're right, it doesn't matter. They don't really care what you're saying, whether you're blowing them sunshine or blowing them embers. Like, they just want the attention. And so that's why I also am not an expert, but I did also earn my knowledge, my degree from Instagram and those really intelligent content creators. Because there are some really good ones out there about gray rocking and the power there. And if you have to stay in that situation, how do you manage it? And so, yeah, so I think emotional intelligence and being in touch with my own cues helped me through that, helped me see what his motivations were, what my motivations were, and what I could control. And I'm a big believer in, and I've had to learn this over and over again, and I have to remind myself of this today. I'm a big believer in what's my end game. I pick my battles and I keep my eye on the end game prize. And if that means having to give this up over here, that's okay because it's serving my bigger purpose. And what's my bigger purpose?
Let's talk about relentless optimism because
Yeah.
I'm really not sure what that means. So
Okay.
explain that to me.
Let's talk about it. Um, so I think there can be an impression out there that optimism is really just a Pollyanna attitude where you think, oh, I'm just going to look on the bright side. Everything is going to be great. Half glass full, glass half full, et cetera, et cetera. And there's an element of that. But I think that to me, relentless optimism is not just looking on the bright side, but it's actually choosing to look on the bright side. It's choosing to look for the silver lining. It's choosing to look for the opportunity in the obstacle. So, for instance, I think one of the foundational pieces to me of relentless optimism is the belief in better, even when you don't know what that better might look like, and the choice to keep moving towards it, even when the road is steep. So, for instance, I shared the story of not being picked up in the hospital, right? In that moment, I had to say, I don't know what better looks like. Like, leaving a marriage, leaving the relative financial stability of that, becoming a single mother, all of those things are so scary, but there has to be something better than this. And I believe in the possibility of better. That's relentless optimism. And then choosing to take proactive steps to make it happen and saying, okay, now it's up to me to both set my goal, but also make it happen. So I think relentless optimism is active. It's a decision to lean into believing in yourself, believing that you can create the world that you want, that at least you can choose a dream and you can chase it. And maybe the chasing of it is, you can't always guarantee the final end, but you can set your journey. And relentless optimism is just the choice to move forward, onward and upward.
Wow, yeah, I like it. It's because when in my mind when I hear relentless optimism, oh, is it one of those people, and forgive me, that's always like you said, Pollyanna, totally happy all the time, and that's not what you're talking about,
No,
right?
no. It's actually people who are willing to say, this situation is really hard. Like this is a really difficult situation. Maybe there's heartbreak, maybe there's trauma, maybe there is failure, maybe there are dark times. And to me, like I've lived through some of those dark times. Dark times are real. But it's also saying, okay, dark times are real, but I'm not stuck here. You have to be in it. Like you have to sit in it sometimes. You have to go through it to get through it, to ultimately grow through it. But it's also saying, okay, but I believe that once I've gotten through it, or even during the getting through it, there is hope and happiness on the other side as long as I'm willing to take the courageous steps to get there.
Here's a question for you.
Yeah.
So I'm a firm believer in that the universe or God, whatever word you want to use, will
Hmm.
keep giving you the same lesson over and over until you get it.
Mm.
I'm a firm believer in that. So
Yeah.
here's my question to you. So
Okay.
you had the alcoholic, and then you went from the alcoholic to the narcissist.
Yeah.
Did you get the lesson this time?
Please God, let me have gotten the lesson. Like I certainly hope so, Lisa. I mean, I
But
I
only you know it, and you can tell me. I mean, are you
I
dating?
think
Do
I
you?
Yeah, I am dating. I have a great boyfriend. He is a CPA. We've been together 3 years now. And believe me, when I started dating again after the narcissistic tendency person, I had a whole checklist. Like I would run through 20 points of like, is this like real or is this love bombing? And I had a whole vetting committee of like friends and family. I'm like, okay, I want you to meet this guy and let me know what you think because I really lost confidence in my picker, right?
Your picker was broken, right?
So broken. And what I realized was I tend to trust immediately. Like some people you have to earn their trust. And me, it's like I almost naturally just give trust until you break it. And I mean, that's a great trait, but it's also a trait that really lets you become a victim to like people who want to abuse trust, right? And I tend to kind of give the benefit of the doubt to a fault. And I've learned that about myself. And I'm still a believer in giving the benefit of the doubt. But I think sometimes, how many times do you have to be shown that that person no longer deserves your grace? And so I had to be shown an awful lot. So I'm hoping
Oh, you're
that
knowing. You're knowing.
I'm
Hope is
knowing. Okay, I'm knowing.
you're
Yes,
knowing.
I have learned the lesson the hard way so many times. So many times. I am yes, let's be done with that lesson, please. Thank you.
No, and really, sometimes that's all you have to do is say it. Hey, I'm done with that. I'm over it. I got the lesson. I
Yeah.
understand this time. And
Yeah.
I laugh. I've dated. I broke up with the last person about 10 years ago, and I've dated intermittently here and there. And no, it's always interesting when I go on a date. I'm like, oh, who's going to show up today? I mean,
Yeah.
is it going to be the old
Hmm.
guy who is all about themselves and not listening to me, doesn't really care about me? Or is it going to be somebody who actually can pay attention to my emotional needs? And I haven't found that person yet. And
Yeah.
I know that person's out there and it will come.
Yeah.
And I think that I had shut the door so tightly the last time, so I'm just trying to pry it back open.
It's so hard, right? Because to be successful at dating, you have to allow a level of vulnerability to build connection. but that's a scary thing. It can be a very scary thing. And so I think it can be incremental. And I think with the right person, they'll understand that and that pacing. But yeah, I think to some degree, I tell my boyfriend he's a unicorn all the time, right? Because
Okay.
he's smart, he's fun, he's emotionally intelligent, he's terrible at texting. So that's like my big complaint. I tease him all the time. But like the but he's a unicorn. I feel very fortunate and I hope that that persists, but I felt like I kind of approached dating when I was ready, like a job. I was like, listen, I need to do my due diligence. I need to vet as many people as possible. And so it was like coffee dates, short dates, right? Coffee dates, Zoom dates, all of these things. It was like a numbers game at some point, which takes the joy out of dating, but the dating system is broken. It just is.
I don't even know how to date because I was, it's not one of those skills that I was taught as a
Yeah.
young child then because my parents didn't know how to date either. And I just it's a new skill I'm going to learn.
Yeah. I don't know. I don't know. Are you on the apps? Do you do the apps? Oh, you have to. That's the only way these days. You have to do it.
I've been, I mean, I'm on and off, but currently I'm off. I'll get
Okay.
inspired. I'll go back on. I'll come back. I had a date with a guy who was pretty funny. So we go into this restaurant and we're talking, and he's retired. Good for him. And I'm like, oh, what do you do with your free time? And he says, oh, I try to stay alive. I'm like, well, good for
Okay.
you. What a great goal. And I'm like, that's it? You got nothing else? And he looked at me and he goes, no. And then when we said goodbye and he went to hug me and I stuck my hand out instead to shake his
Yeah.
hand because I
Yeah.
was hugging him. I was like,
Yeah.
he looked at me like to in total shock that I didn't want his hug and I didn't want him to touch me and I just wanted to walk away from him. I
Yeah.
just knew in that moment I want more from life. And if this is what you're telling me now, I can't imagine what it's going to be like later.
For sure. No, I think and I think this is a growing sentiment. Like I'm I think you are an amazing person and very happy and independent and I love what you're doing with this podcast and I'm pretty happy within myself and I'm pretty happy with the life I've built. And so I'll speak for both of us and say I think that if somebody's going to come into my life, somebody's going to come into your life, they need to be something that actually makes it worth my time and improves that situation, that environment somehow improves my life experience. I don't want somebody just for somebody. Now, do I want my person? Absolutely. I have big dreams of like traveling the world in retirement with my person be bopping around, right? But like if
Right,
I have to
right.
do that by myself, then that's okay.
That is okay. That's awesome. So I have two more questions for you.
Yeah.
So, Raya, how can people get in touch with you when they want to learn more from you?
Okay. Yeah, thank you. So you can follow me on LinkedIn /Rya Hazelwood. Email me, rya@ryahazelwood.com. My website, ryahazelwood.com. Follow me on social media. I'm at relentless.optimism.xo. I'm all over the place, so find me.
Awesome. And piece of advice for my audience when they're going through some time of struggle and they're really in the thick of it, what can they
Mhm.
do in that moment to get
Yeah,
through it?
I will say I think you first of all give yourself grace and understand that healing is not linear. And if on a certain day you need to just like sit in a bookshop with a cup of coffee and a book and not engage with the world, do that. If you need to stay in bed, do that. But at some point, get up, splash some water on your face and start looking for those little pops of joy, even joy in the ordinary. For me, when I see a cardinal, it makes me think of my grandmother who's no longer with us. And so when I see the cardinal, that brings me a little bit of peace. And he's just these little pops. So start slowly dipping your toe back in and understand that things can and will get better. This is not forever. And allow yourself to go through it so you can get through it, so you can grow through it. I'll also give you, if it's okay, my favorite mindset shift, which is so simple, but for me has been so impactful. And it's just swapping out a couple of words. And that is instead of saying have to, switch that to get to,
Absolutely.
right? I have to
Yeah.
go to work today. You get to go to work
You
today.
get to go to work because some people don't.
Because some people don't. I have to uh, put my son to bed today. I'm so tired and I have to do bedtime now. No, I get to do bedtime now. I get to fill up his love tank. I get to have that special time with him. And so, in any way, shape, or form, right? get to really flips the switch from resentment to gratitude. And for me, that is a daily practice.
Awesome. So thank you, Rya, for being my guest. I'm Lisa Manzo, your host, and this has been the Phoenix Mind Podcast, and I will see you on the next episode.
This is the Phoenix Mind, where the fire refines. Together we rise, transform our lives. So subscribe.